after two White House employees were forced out this week over allegations of domestic abuse. They each deny. Today, President Trump took sides, advocating for the accused, but not the accuser. People's lives are being shattered and destroyed by a mere allegation. There is no recovery for someone falsely accused. Senior aide Rob Porter and speechwriter David Sorensen both resigned after media reports exposed allegations of physical and emotional abuse made by their former wives during FBI background checks. Today, President Trump did concede broadly that some allegations are true, but Friday he emphasized support for Porter.
Says he's innocent, and I think you have to remember that. He said very strongly yesterday that he's innocent.
Today, Democratic Senator Patty Murray drew her own line to the Me Too movement, saying she would back women, trusting them even if the president won't. Handling of the West Wing crisis put Chief of Staff John Kelly's management under scrutiny. Administration sources tell NBC News the president has been critical of Kelly's leadership. But former Chief of Staff Reince Priebus said the president did not undercut Kelly when he spoke to him.
No, the president's never complained to me about General Kelly. And on top of it, I would never, number one, he didn't do that. But number two, I would never bring up such a subject.
And Lester, President Trump sparked more fire from Democrats. He decided not to declassify their Russia investigation memo, sending it back to the Intelligence Committee. But last week, the president did declassify a Republican memo over FBI objections. Republicans claim high-level Justice Department officials showed partisan bias when they asked the FISA court to authorize surveillance on a Trump campaign aide. Democrats say that's not true.
We welcome any changes to the Democratic memo that are free from political edits. But right now, we know this president will take any step necessary to obstruct this investigation.
And today, the president suggested Democrats intentionally included sensitive information in order to blame him for not making their memo public.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here. And click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.